there and teach reading and writing, teach them how to read those passages, those, big paragraph stories, and they're going to have to read and interpret. And if they don't pass those exams, they don't pass. Right. They don't matriculate. And again, I feel like it's just a setup to keep certain people out of jobs and opportunities. So I teach, not only do I teach the writing and the speaking and the reading part, I also teach testing strategies. How do you, when you see these types of, because I teach them how to skip around and how to take those tests so that they can pass. But at the end of the day, the writing and reading level is way, way down. So I have to I work with small groups, so I have to go one by one, little by little, to teach them how do you write a complete sentence? How do you spell?
I tell you,
and there's a big language barrier.
Well, texting doesn't help because it allows everyone to shortcut the English language.
Right. Now, people tend to forget there was already a shortcut to the written language. It's called shorthand. Mm-hmm. But there's logic behind it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Not these ebonified, hooked on phonics, phonetics, spelling that, is so common. Right now, RN. No. Right now, shorthand is RTNOW. That's what right is, RT. Real simple.
I know that they have all this
LFT.
Just spell the word.
Simple. They dumb down the dumbing down.
They've dumbed down.
Or talking it and not even spending any time learning how the word is supposed to be spelled in the first place. Because I've seen kids who have no clue how to write the very thing that they're sending to you in a text message, because they're allowed to do that regularly. So between the shorthand and they're just going to talk it. Put it like this: I talk to text often, but I promise you, I know how to write that sentence.
Absolutely.
I write shorthand. Everything I write, I'm going to spell as an English. I spell everything out.
I'm with you, OMG. I'm like that English teacher. I write complete sentences, and even on text messages, I put commas, quotes,
I have everything.
And I use punctuation properly.
If you see it.
I'm doing this, and I'm like,
on social media, I'm real quick. I even have on there, I'm a grammar Nazi. Absolutely. I will call you out. And it's like, well, was that necessary? Yes, it was. It was necessary.
They don't understand the importance of being able to speak well.
And that's how come I have to tell people when I know I'm talking to text and I know something, even though it gets across my point. It's not, I have to say, okay, I'm talking this to let them know.
Oh, so no, I'll send a correction. I will correct myself when I see it, and I get so irritated because I proofread before I hit send.
I do.
Because it is so annoying. Did you? Oh, well, it's just, no, it's not just.
Well, see, again, we've minimized everything that's of importance. And Martin Luther King had a saying that says, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter.
Absolutely.
Education matters.
See, I love that.
Absolutely. And you know what? Before we went to break, you were talking about how you felt instead of separating the children in the classroom, those who may have needed extra help, remedial help, whatever, instead of separating them into a separate group, just to have them in a completely separate school. I don't feel that
may not allow them to be integrated into society.
Right.
But again,
I feel like that's already a knock to their self-esteem. Okay, because usually the kids who come in needing additional help, they've got other stuff going on at home. There's life going on at home.
Absolutely.
Those are the kids, if you notice, that came in with no school supplies.
Right.
Who had no school clothes, correct? Who always come in late, or they never have food, or they.
I have those.
Absolutely.
They eat at school.
So I feel that separating them in that way, they're already feeling alienated. So they need that something, that self-esteem. Okay, I just needed a little extra help. It doesn't mean that I can't be with everybody else. It just means give me a little extra push, and that
remember
completely helps their self-esteem.
Because I was a spelling bee queen.
Oh,
I can spell. I have a test here that I showed it to Brian. I had made one of the highest scores they'd ever seen on vocabulary. Didn't I show it to you?
How many times did she show it to you? That's the operative question.
Again, I was a spelling bee queen. So, I remember how kids can be cruel.
Absolutely.
And so when there are children that are in the room with them that are less than what they are cruel, they are vile.
That's how bullying happens.
Exactly. So that's why I said I don't know if it's a good thing to have these other children in where somebody rides their back every day. You're this, you're dumb, you're stupid. And see, thank God they don't use the word retarded, because when I was coming up, that was the term.
I was going to say the reason why I think there's more of an increase in bullying is because nobody's being taught home training.
Exactly. Well, that's true.
We don't make fun of other kids. We don't stare. We don't. This is impolite. Those aren't proper questions to ask. It's not. That's all stuff you absolutely.
You don't ask
Exactly.
inappropriate questions because even my students, they approach me, almost like we're friends or something. Like one young lady said, "So how did you get this job?" I'm like, "What do you ask an instructor?"
Oh no! See, that was real quick.
Down.
See, I was real quick with the young kids that I dealt with the juveniles that I dealt with. It was, oh no, we're not on the same level. Oh, I can call. Don't call me by my first name. We're nowhere near the same level, honey.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Your friend.
Yeah.
Oh, this is where we're at. This is I'm not so and so. That's not who I am. We're gonna stop that right then and there.
Right.
But I had to establish that.
Right.
Because they didn't have any of that home training at home. That's the problem, is that we're not teaching our kids the proper things and how to respect each other. So they get to school, they're in kindergarten, they still don't know how to hold a pencil. They still don't know their ABCs. They still don't know how to write. That is not the teacher's job to teach your child. It's to help reinforce and to develop off of that, for them to grow off of that. They should already be able to recognize their own name in kindergarten.
But you know what? And also the thing, to bite off of that, they've removed cursive handwriting.
What is that about?
Why?
They removed that.
Please
Oh my
don't get me
gosh.
started. I can hide something in a cursive handwriting piece of material.
Well,
and
that's-
wouldn't
I
even
told
read
you.
it.
One of my good friends, someone that she knew, one of her ex-coworkers, had a 19-year-old who, she would sit there and write, him lunch notes every year that he was in school. And then finally she says, you never said anything about it. How did you feel? And he was like, well, I never read them. She goes, what are you talking about? Well, because it's in cursive. I don't understand that. 19 years old, and you can't read cursive handwriting?
Like you said, we're dumb down. And it's just going into a vicious cycle to where pretty soon we won't have to learn anything. There'll be no school. They have something now called non-schooling, or no, it's called unschooling.
Oh, for
What's
crying out
that?
loud.
I don't know. It's something. Somebody can look it up. Frankly, it's something
Unschooling.
called unschooling.
Unschooling.
Because in other words, we want you
Let me see if I
stupid. That is just ridiculous. Well, who was it? Someone said that her daughter, she had taught her daughter at home how to write in cursive.
See, if I were a parent, I would do that.
But you know what? She goes to school. She writes nothing but her name at the top of the page in cursive. She got points knocked off. She got chastised for it.
Why?
They had a hissy fit. We don't write in cursive here. She's like, well, she knows how, and you can read it.
Yeah.
So why can't she?
See, I wouldn't stop it.
Okay.
Oh.
This is what unschooling is. Unschooling is an educational method and philosophy that advocates learner-chosen activities as a primary means for learning.
Get out
So
of
no
here.
So that
learning
means
will
the
really
kid
happen.
chooses what he wants
So
to learn.
basically, you let the animals run free.
I'm telling you.
You can lock yourself up if you'd like, if you're feeling it. But if not, that's
This is the
okay.
kind of stuff.
You don't want to learn your
I have a
ABCs?
student like
It's
that.
okay.
He says he wants to play video games, and I said, sir, young man, I would love to see you build video games. However, that's on the college level. And before you get to that point, you need to be able to write a complete sentence. And I said, look at that. That looks like a third grader wrote it. Now, how old are you? What grade are you in?
Yeah.
I
It's
said, it looks
terrible.
like a third grader wrote it.
We have a saying, ¿Quién manda? Who runs this house? Who's running this?
I like
The
that.
children or the parent? We tell the ¿Quién manda? Who's
you
running
can't
this
tell.
house?
You
The
can't
child
tell.
or the adult?
Some of
You
them
better
can't
believe.
tell.
And so now
Yeah.
you can't tell.
And also too, I ran into circumstances where I would see people and we were trying to have conversations and I'm listening to their kids. Well, I realize now why the kids have so much trouble writing, because if you can't say it, you can't
definitely
sound
don't
it
know
out
what
to
you don't know
spell
what
it.
to write, right.
Right.
So when you're watching them, you're like, okay, and they're spelling it phonetically based on the way that they've said it.
Which
And
is
you're like,
totally
that is
wrong.
I was
Way
like, "There's no
wrong."
way." And they're looking at me like, no, and they say it again the wrong way. And they point out the letters and they are completely baffled because they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm not here to teach you. I'm just saying this does
is
not
wrong.
look
This is
right.
See, but I do that and I make them enunciate. In fact, the word, we were discussing risks. And I said, say risks. And I made everybody go around the class and they had to say it. And some were like, risks. And I said, risks. And I made them reiterate over and over again. And they got to the point where they were saying, well, those risks. They started to say it because although they were trying to laugh at me, they still
Said
did
it
it
properly.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And that's their
And then
job.
the kids who were struggling with English, even they were able to say risks. I said
You
suggests.
learn to speak. You learn.
Exactly.
You know, and if
You
you've
weren't
never
born that
been
way.
taught,
Exactly.
you know, you're not conditioned. It's muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we know how to enunciate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because think about it, you're using your entire mouth, you're using your tongue. That takes practice. You know, I got my tongue pierced when I was in college, and I knew my words sounded different, but okay, I had the piercing in. But even after it was taken out, it was only a few years that I had it in. But my Spanish, I had a hard time rolling my R's. I had to relearn how to roll my R's and how to
Whoa.
enunciate
Oh, no.
some things. And I'm like, my tongue is lazy. But in that short amount of time, think about it. And then when you know, birds of a feather,
Mm-hmm.
if you're constantly speaking street,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes time to
To
profession
speak
and to
properly,
be
you
proper,
can't.
you have to think about that. And I had to
Transition.
retrain myself.
Mhm.
I worked with juveniles. I worked with these kids for over
Mhm.
11 years. You have to get, I'm not stooping to their level, but I had to get on their level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it came to just talking strictly with adults. And even in court, sometimes I find myself having to think a little bit harder. Oh, wait a minute, let me properly form this, or that's not the correct tense. You know, let me remember who it is that I'm speaking to. But in that short amount of time, or in those short moments,
Sure.
you know, look how I had to retrain myself. So if they've never had that to begin with, what do we
Imagine.
expect?
They have-
Why are we
they have nothing to
surprised
base
and
it on.
shocked?
You know,
Oh,
I think teachers have a good heart. They're there because they're passionate about what they do. But the parents have to work in conjunction with teachers. It's not their responsibility to raise
Absolutely
these
not.
people's children, you know. And so, again, they have them put in the role of training, and that's not their job.
And that's one too. They can't do their job
They can't.
because they spend so much time in a disciplinary place where they're
Right.
trying to tell them, don't do that, don't do that, do this. That they can't even get to the place where they're teaching them how to write correctly, how to do
Right,
certain
right.
things that they're
And-
supposed to be there to do.
And that's doing a disservice to the entire classroom, because it's not, oh, well, you know, if you have to help my kid. No, it's not just your kid.
Right.
It's 10 other kids who have the lack of training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Oh, it's a
or
whole
it's
bunch of
15
them.
other kids, because now classrooms are what, like 30
the
some kids,
Yeah.
the teacher
25, you know,
student
they're
ratio is awful.
completely
There's
stretched
no
thin.
way.
So now nobody's learning, because we're having to deal with little Susie and little Johnny because they can't properly hold a pencil, or because they don't know how to speak when spoken to and not speak out of turn.
They have
You
so
know,
Right,
much-
they don't know how to raise their hands, but I instituted my own rules.
Well, they have so many liberties now. They don't.
Yeah, but you know what? My kids are affectionate though. They come in and they like to hug you.
Well,
They
it's
don't-
They might
they
not
just
get that
need a little
at home, though.
attention.
I bet they don't
But
have
you
that
know
at
what?
home.
And I didn't let them do it. It's okay. They'll come in and give me a hug, and they say, and they listen to me. But I had to get some things established. You know, when they see
Well,
me,
that tells you they don't
they
get
see
that
me, they
at
hug me.
home.
Right.
A lot
Yeah.
of kids are not getting
Yeah.
that. When we came home from school, it was always, so what was your day at school
Yes, Lord.
like?
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you
How'd
have to
school
discuss how
go?
school-
Get
right.
your homework out.
And my mother knew principals and teachers
Oh,
up close
yeah.
and personal,
Yeah,
so
that's
there were
right.
no
Yeah,
surprises.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think
It
so.
would
Oh,
beat
my
me
mom was
home.
one of those. Oh no, if there's ever any issue whatsoever, make sure you give me a call first. And it's like, oh,
Absolutely.
don't ever call my mama.
Okay.
Don't do it.
No.
Even to this day, it's like, oh man, please, I hope my mom don't find out.
Exactly.
You know?
Family.
Or get that call in high school.
What?
I saw your mom walking down the hall. I was like, who's she going to see?
Oh, my mom was one of those who would pop up,
Yes.
No.
pop up,
Yes.
Well, see,
and
I was one of them.
real quick.
My,
Mhm.
Just
my daughter went to West U, and there was a little bit of racism there. And I told one of the teachers one day, you have just picked the wrong child, because I'm a housewife. I have time. I was there every day. The principal came to me. She said, Ms. Gath, you are intimidating the teacher. I audited her class. I was in the back of my daughter's class.
Mm-hmm.
I was auditing.
I'd be like this.
And they told me, they said, you are intimidating the teacher
Well, they need to be
by
on their
auditing. I said,
game.
you should be doing their job.
Because if you do,
if you're doing it, then
You know,
you should be real chill. It ain't nothing.
That's exactly
Or-
right. But they
or-
were reporting me. She's making me nervous.
well, my thing is too, if anything you'd ever said that they didn't agree with, well, the time to say it was, okay, we're in the same class, and this is why I did what I did. Let me explain myself. It wouldn't be a time to be, like, once again, y'all call in if I'm out of turn. But I'm thinking, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and someone disagrees, that's one thing.
Right.
If
right.
you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing and someone brings it up or disagrees, okay, now you got a whole nother
That's an
issue.
issue.
Absolutely.
That's all
Right.
I'm saying.
Yeah, and I know there's plenty of teachers out there. I have plenty of teacher friends. Give us a call here at the studio, 713-789-0096. Of course, you're always welcome to comment on our live Facebook feed, and or text message, smoke signal, whichever. Even if you just need to vent on, because it's the first week of school.
Yeah, I think it starts with the 28th.
There's some that are
well,
already
yes,
some are
my
already
niece actually
started.
started yesterday.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she started yesterday, and I think 3 other school districts in the surrounding area started today at least.
I think
So-
it's staggered.
Mhm.
Everybody hasn't started back.
No,
But
it'll be
It's
staggered.
staggered.
Although the
Zenobia
traffic
checked
is-
in, and
Hey, Zenobia.
Bernadine also
Thank you,
checked
Paul.
in.
To my mom, thank you for for checking in. Richard, Juliet, and Evelyn, of course. And we also have, let me see. Oh, I already said hi to Paul. So yeah, thank you guys for checking in.
Why is it, guys, you think that this country gives a lot of weight to professional sports and not to education?
Because it keeps us dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Look what's going on with
And
with
somebody's making
football.
a lot of money.
I was just going to say,
The
money.
concussions and boxing and all, the deteriorating, brains that, your body's giving out and everything. And it was all from high impact sports. But let's put a higher value on that, because it helps us get dumb faster
And
and we
money.
die faster.
I talked about that, I think, with the NFL
You
show
did.
we had last
More
week.
medication.
Mhm.
Just keep pumping us up with that big pharma med and that one and all that money. It's all about money.
And we can convince you of anything we want to convince you of.
That's it.
Right.
But I think more people may go towards homeschooling, which I am not a big proponent of.
I know a lot of people
No,
that do that.
I have a comment on that. I asked my students last spring, and I said, what do you guys think? I said, imagine you get up, and instead of getting dressed and coming here, you get dressed, and you go to a designated area in your house, and you sit at your computer, and that's where you have your class. I had to create the scenario. And I said, tell me, what do you think about that? And each one of them made a comment, and most of them said no, that they wanted to come.
Well, you need some
They
structure.
wanted to
At
come.
home,
Yeah.
how can you do-
See, my
class.
my best friend she's a professor, but she did homeschool with her kids. But it was her teacher mentality. We're still going to be structured. You need to have that.
It has to be
So if you have a
structured.
parent who won't even teach their kindergartner how to recognize their name, how to hold a pencil properly, those little things, but you're going to homeschool them, no way.
Yeah, I agree with you,
No
because
way.
I feel like that would get lax, and then a lot of my kids were taking care of siblings, or their other siblings were
Right.
having kids, and they were having to take care of kids. And I
Right.
said, they're not going to be doing that. They're going to be feeding babies and changing diapers
Just be a
and running
babysitter.
errands. Yeah, right. They'll be an at-home babysitter.
That's it.
And people assume that just because you say I'm going to homeschool, that it's an easy task. You have to,
It's
once you
not.
get
That's dead
it, you need
serious.
to make
That
them
is dead
prepared for
serious.
different
That's the point that I'm making.
aspects of
Absolutely.
And that
education.
requires more discipline, I think, than going to a
Absolutely.
public school.
I
It
agree,
does.
because I was one of
It's like-
those. Think about it. College courses, online classes.
I could
They
never do
are
that.
No.
rigorous.
They
That's
really
that's
are.
not me. I
have
don't
to
learn
be
that way.
in the classroom, and I'm always on the first row. I'm one of those that sit in the first row.
Oh my
I
God!
don't like
the
in the back
spelling
of the
bee
corner.
queen.
Yeah, I'm like right there.
I'll be in the second row.
I can see it right
Oh,
now.
yes, we'll be right back. We gotta go there.
She's such a fellow.
No.
See, I was too tall to sit. I was too
I
tall
thought
to
you
sit.
offered my
Oh, well,
perspective.
I definitely.
I was
In fact,
called
I can
teacher's
spell
pet
out
because
the
I sat
word.
I'm blind. I
Wound up
can't
and
see.
get you.
I was too tall to be in the front row because everybody would be like, I can't say
They send you to the back anyway, right?
And then they always had us alphabetically. So then I would end up in the back because my maiden name is Webb.
Oh,
Right. Oh,
I
yeah.
hated that.
Where?
Yeah.
W-E-B?
See, right, I'm Williams, and when they did that, you're right. You end up in the back, in the corner, in a hole, in a crack. Oh, I couldn't stand it.
But we had some teachers that would reverse seat just for that reason. Because they said, I know you all are always in the back, let's reverse seat, reverse it,
Yeah,
reverse
sit in
up
the front.
so we could sit closer to, usually we would
Right.
sit closer in the front, or they would do it, instead of going up and down, they would go across.
Right.
So that's how I ended up in the front row.
Relational,
Like,
and
oh my goodness.
marriage and the family.
Mm-mm.
Heart to heart conversation.
Wow.
I want to discuss the reason why I knew which school districts were starting this morning is because what they were talking about was their security enhancements. Katy ISD started school. They've added 2 extra. That's what I want to discuss.
Okay,
Now it's supposed to be for the protect your child, but I feel it's fear mongering and it's just like 1984.
Well, let's talk briefly about school
The
security.
cameras
They
and
go
the
to your
buzzing
thing.
in. It's to keep kids in.
Oh yeah, I have a good.
It's
all
to
up in
keep
the
them
way.
in and a
They're all up here on the table.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a real thing.
Right.
It's like having a napkin.
Yeah, but they're using it for your safety.
Well,
No.
I mean,
Not
the reality
just.
is, I mean, there's a fear. There's a fear factor there, not only for children, but for,
Well, let's hope we come right there.
not only for
We don't
children,
have
but for
one.
teachers as well.
Well, yeah, that I get.
Yeah.
But it ultimately that's they're too much like jails. You're getting buzzed in and out. That's what you do with detention facilities. Camera, ID, buzz. That's how you enter in and out of detention facilities.
Right.
Not an academic campus.
I've never been in one.
Okay, we're back again. You're listening to All About You with OMG and Friends. Before we close this conversation and have our wellness warrior give us a little talk, I do want to announce again, I am OMG and my co-host.
Silky smooth.
Daydream.
Your wellness warrior, Susan Nett.
And then we have a joke at the end of the
Cause.
There you
Yes,
go.
you got that one out of the way.
She gave me the-
Real quick,
Give me a
we
name.
cannot continue to talk about the situation in schools without having to discuss briefly security.
Right. So this morning, the reason I was even aware of how many school districts were starting was because it was announced as such and such ISD has extra security enhancements, buzz features, cameras, additional, resource officers. And resource officers are those who de-escalate issues. They're basically on-campus police.
Wow.
So they were talking about how the additional security and extra, gates and things like that. And it just made me think our schools are now resembling more of detention facilities.
Absolutely.
Because detention facilities is where you have cameras and you need to look up in the camera and show your ID or identify yourself, and then they buzz you in and out. And that's what these schools have gone to. And it came about, I think, more fear mongering is for the safety of your children, is for the safety of the teachers. Yes and no. I feel it's gone to the extreme because now it's you're saying it's to keep all that trouble out and to keep those who are up to no good out of the school and not allow them to penetrate. But at the same time, I feel it's to keep them in. It's going to be a lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're
it's
locking
frightening
it down
to
to
have
keep
kids
people
now.
out. You're also locking it down to keep people in.
Oh yeah.
They need to have some sort of training, of which we've done before on one of our shows, talking about should a situation turn active, shooting, because again, there's a protocol to follow, and you don't know when that time is going to happen. And so I think Texas has not been in the not so much in the limelight as some
Oh,
of the
yeah,
other.
well.
Yes, we have. We just had the Santa Fe shooting this past school
We
year.
were the last one.
Yeah, well, that was the last one.
Yeah.
Actually,
It's just too much. It's just too much. But again, when are they opening HISD? Is that the 30th, the 28th?
honestly, I have no idea. I don't know if it's this week or the
I feel like
next
I've
week.
heard
I think
some
it is
teachers
the
say
last
that
week.
the teachers, I thought they said that they were at school. I don't know if the students were or not.
Right,
Teachers
and
have
teachers
always
always go back.
Do you remember
earlier.
when we were in school, you were never out of school? These kids are out of school. I mean, not summer withstanding, but they're always out of school.
Always a
Right.
holiday.
Always
Teacher
yeah,
development,
when do y'all go to
staff
school?
development,
Yeah.
conference day.
Yeah.
This is like
Yeah.
But at any rate, guys, we've got to close the conversation today on going back to school. But parents do work in conjunction with the teachers. Teachers do work in
Please.
conjunction with the parents. And students, try to get information and time from not only your parents, but not only from your teacher, but from your parents. Because again, as Daydream said, home training, all of that starts with the operative word of home. And let's remember that every moment can be and is a teaching moment, and a mind, once stretched by a new idea, never regains its original dimension.
Oh, I like that.
Okay?
I like that.
So with that, we will bring your wellness warrior, Susan Ned, on to talk about nutritional suicide.
Yes.
And kids going back to school, this is important as well for kids.
It very much is, and I kind of try to steer it towards the way that we provide nutrition for our children. A lot of you all made a comment to me about my nutritional suicide Facebook Live. So I kind of recreated a few things, tweaked a few things, and tried to make it a little more condensed if I could. But one of the things is, if you think about suicide, we all have our own understanding of what the word suicide means. So I went, I can't say I went to Webster, because that was the old days. I went to Google. So you can check me at Google. But it's the act of intentionally causing one's own death. So then you couple that with the word nutrition. Went to the dictionary once again. Nutrition, the supply of materials that organisms and cells need to live. So if you are committing nutritional suicide, you are depriving your body of the things that it needs to live systematically. And this doesn't just happen when we're grown-ups. This happens as children. At the way we feed our kids going into the school system. A lot of times I'll hear people say, oh, my child is hyperactive. Well, what do you feed your child before your child goes to school?
Sugar, full of sugar.
Chocolate milk.
There you go.
Yeah.
Captain Crunch.
There you
Fruit
go.
Loops. Pop Tart.
They
A donut.
don't think anything of it.
Mickey D's, they wanted a frappe. What?
What?
Caffeine and sugar?
Exactly.
It's unhealthy for
That's
adults.
It really, and then they send it to school, and the poor teacher has to be left
That's
with
what I
that
said.
child.
Yeah, right. If you leave, you drop your problem for the teacher.
Bouncing all off the walls and whatnot. But what I also too wanted to, for those people who always say, oh, you got to die of something. Okay, so I pulled up some stats.
I hate people say that.
A die of adventure.
I hear it.
I die of adventure, not because I
Right.
was too fat and I just couldn't breathe.
Exactly. That's not the way I want to go out if I can
And
help
that's
it.
slow death.
And
Oh,
that's
it's
the
horrible.
worst kind.
And burdensome on our loved ones' death.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's the other thing too, burden. But a little over 34,000 people commit suicide a year. Just straight up commit suicide a year. However, over 610,000 people die of heart disease. Over 600,000 people die of cancer, and 1.6 million people die of something related to diabetes. So now, if I'm telling someone, please don't put that gun to your head, please don't take those pills, please don't slit your wrist, but I'm letting them eat on a continuous basis, slowly killing themselves, they fall into those numbers.
Right.
Absolutely.
They fall into those numbers.
Away from the burger.
Step away from that donut. Put it down.
Absolutely.
Easy.
I
Put it
see
down.
Say you nothing to see.
I see you. Those fries are not good for you.
Stay out of Starbucks.
The food is killing us. You know, we've done shows
Oh,
on that as well. The
definitely.
food is killing us.
And everything contains sugar.
Everything.
Added sugar, not just the natural sugar that occurs in fruit or, just however. No, it's additional sugar.
Oh, absolutely. We know.
Everything.
Well, that's where Sugarland comes from. Imperial sugar out here.
Is that right?
Right.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
know
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sugar cane pills.
Sugar cane pills.
See?
Yeah. And Imperial
And
sugar.
they-
that you-
Yeah, I know, and I know
Sugar.
it here. Well, and
And that,
two,
they add it to everything.
and they're adding it to things that don't even taste sweet, because they were talking about
It's an addiction.
putting them in burgers
It's an
and fries
addiction.
and things like that, because they know that sugar is more addictive than cocaine.
Absolutely.
They've studied it, more
The
addictive.
other white powder.
Exactly.
Yes.
The mice chose the sugar. They chose the sugar.
Wow.
Y'all thought it was just that snow bunny. No. It's the other white girl.
He's like, you think about masturbated white horse? Oh,
Yes.
Lord. You're on a ride.
This is what I have to put on. Y'all understand. Before we go on the air, all of this.
Wow.
But also, too, to let people know that they have done studies, and our children get 50 pounds of sugar a year. 50
Children have
pounds.
diabetes now. They've
Exactly.
never had diabetes.
And they've had strokes before they're into puberty.
Yes.
And heart attacks.
Absolutely.
I
Well,
haven't
think
heard
about it.
that.
In the
I'm
news,
not surprised.
when it comes time for sports are about to start up again for the school year. So that means start paying attention. Kids are falling out. Oh, unexpected death. Poor, middle school student. They were on the field, or they were on the track, or they collapsed after. It's all heart related.
It's the food.
Absolutely.
we're eating.
It's always something heart related.
And to everyone, you need to recognize that when I was 43 and had a heart attack, I didn't wake up and have that heart attack. That heart attack was dogging me for years.
Right.
So what you have to do is, for those of you that say, oh, I'm just not motivated. Well, you know what? Sometimes you're not going to be right away.
Yeah.
You need to be motivated to live. How about
To live,
that? Can we do
yeah.
that? Can we get motivated to live? Can you get motivated to have your children live and thrive and not be burdensome to them? They talk about the price. Guess what? If you start buying chips, cookies, soda, and
all the
pops
other
and all
cakes
those,
and cookies.
you will find that your budget leads way to that sort of thing, that you can buy healthier food and unprocessed food. Then people talk about having time. Guess what? It don't take a whole lot of time to throw some salad out of a bag and grill some chicken. How about that? How about we do things easier and we use real food? And they also talk about what it tastes like. Okay, I don't understand how we can be in a world full of herbs and spices and not
Like the flavor of something.
work it out. We figure out how to get our hair and nails and find out where to buy our shoes. We
Right.
can find out how to make our food taste good. And once again, like Daydream said, parents, be the boss. Do not let your children convince you after a temper tantrum that they need to get a flurry, that they need to get, you know what I'm saying? So just take your time to make sure that you are not only committing nutritional suicide yourself, but teaching your children how to commit nutritional suicide. The earlier the better.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank
report.
you.
Yeah. So, again, before going back to school, we just want to make sure that you make sure your kids are safe. They've got backpacks, they've got their little haircut and all everything. Needs to be
And
done.
there's tons of community resources.
Yes.
You know, there's been a lot of back to school fairs offering free backpacks. You know, and it's not even so much income based anymore because they know, you know, we're coming up to a year on Harvey.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
We're coming up to that year mark, and there's still a lot of people in distress
Absolutely.
and displaced and everything else. So that I noticed a lot more non-income based back to school with free supplies.
Exactly.
Right.
Or even you know, a lot of schools were allowing you to do online school shopping
Yeah.
and allowed you to, you know, put in additional, do you want, you know, to sponsor another kid or buy additional supplies in case they run out, or to help out the teachers and things like that.
Well, they
So
do have, I think it's She's Happy Hair or something like that. They have in their different locations before HISD opens, they're offering free haircuts for little boys.
see, that's
Oh,
how you
that's
build
nice.
your community. Yeah, a lot of free
Absolutely.
haircuts, a lot of specials, and don't forget, like barber colleges and other
Oh,
trade schools.
yes.
They're offering discounts. They're learning, so those are cheap and very good haircuts, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you got to, you know, you get that
Yeah, they
up and
serve
coming
the public.
stylist you get in before they start booking those appointments and charging you $50 for that
absolutely.
after
Yeah.
hour.
And
That
there
ain't
are
not
instructors around.
They serve the public. And what I want to suggest is to have a 30-day plan. That's what I do for school to start, and you know, just start getting yourself ready. I mean, even adults that are returning to school, because that's a big step if you're an adult
bigger than
returning.
children.
That's
It
bigger
sure is.
if you're
Oh,
returning
my
after
God.
20 or 30 years, and you
I
got
have
to
a
go
hard
back to college.
Man, I have a hard time getting back to work on a Monday.
You know,
so much
that's
less
the
start
challenge. And what I suggest is look at your material at night again before you go to bed to get it into
After
your
you drink the
psyche.
wine.
Yeah, read
It might-
and
it might
to read
settle
it.
in.
Before you drink the
No,
wine.
after you drink it,
After.
after kick in.
Right.
I think I
Read
feel
and reread. And I'll share this. Your future depends on many things, but mostly you.
Yeah.
All right.
Love it.
That'd be the reason. We will see you next week on the radio.
Music.
Thank you.
Good show, ladies.
All right, well,
Thank you, ladies. That was fun.
that was like perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, Sharpstown does breakfast, lunch.